You're listening to the Balanced Educator Podcast, episode number 51.
Welcome to the Balanced Educator. We're your hosts, Kaylee
and Josiane from EduCalm. Our intention is to equip and empower you to feel more calm, balanced, and joyful in all aspects of your life. Hello there, and welcome to the Balanced Educator Podcast. Whether you're new to the show or you keep coming back, welcome. We're so happy you're here. We invite you to subscribe in iTunes so that you can hear our episodes that come out every Monday. So today on the Balanced Educator Podcast, we're doing something a little different. We're actually answering some of the questions that you've been asking us in the past year, I would say, common questions that we receive. And what's interesting about this episode is that we actually recorded it like at the end of August, early September of last year. So it was recorded quite a while ago. And it's kind of funny because we talk about when we were in the classroom, not knowing at the time that now we are back in the classroom. And so it's kind of, for me, as I was preparing this episode for you, it was kind of like a little trip down memory lane. But although this episode was recorded quite a while ago, there's just a lot of valuable information there. So excited to get into it. But before we get started, just wanted to give a quick reminder to all teachers living in Winnipeg or Manitoba, an area, that on April 25th of 2019, we will be hosting a professional development morning and afternoon, depending if you want to take it in English or en français, where you will learn how to introduce mindfulness into your classroom, making it a success. And also you will get a full year subscription to EduCalm Classroom, and you'll learn exactly how to implement this program into your regular teaching curriculum. So if you are interested in this, you can go to www.educalm.com/EduCalm Classroom PD, and EduCalm is spelled EduCalme. The last two workshops of this type that we did were quite a success, and we're so excited to meet you if we get to do so on April 25th this year. All right, so now let's get into answering some of your most asked questions. Let's get started. So first question, I'm curious about the reward factor and thinking about my students in particular. I've read that rewards actually don't work long-term. They work short-term to create change and then aren't effective long-term. Can you give me some insight on this topic?
Yeah, so this is definitely something that we talk a lot about in education. How to motivate our students to do things, right? How to get them to want to learn, how to get them on board. So the rewards system, we're talking more and more about the fact that that isn't really useful because that's not creating intrinsic motivation, it's extrinsic motivation. So we want our students to be intrinsically motivated to learn. So intrinsically motivated means that they themselves see the value in doing whatever it is that we're asking them to do. So they want to do it from their own accord. Whereas extrinsic motivation is a way to get students to do the things that they don't want to do. So it's saying, okay, if you do this thing, I'll give you a reward.
Yeah,
if you
the
don't,
carrot.
The carrot or the stick. Exactly. So it's like, if you do this thing, you get a reward. If you don't, there's a punishment. And that gets them to focus a lot more on wanting a reward for the things that they do, rather than the reward being the joy they get from the doing of the thing. So when we're talking about how to motivate our students, I think it's super important for us to guide them and help them to figure out what motivates them, or why is this thing important to them. So one thing that I loved to do in my classroom was when I was creating projects, the things that we were going to learn about in school, I would try to get a ton of feedback from my students, and we would actually come up with a lot of our projects together. So I taught from grade 6 to grade 12. So with the older grades, what I actually did was I showed them what the learning outcomes were. I was like, okay, you guys need to learn how to do this and this and this. Here are some ideas I have. What do you think? Are any of these things something that you would be interested in doing? And usually a lot of them would agree on one of the ideas I already had. And then I'd be like, okay, so if we're going to do this, how do you feel about, this project, including this, this, and this? And we would create it together. So it was something that they were personally invested in, something that they already wanted to do.
This is something you can also do with younger grades.
Yeah.
I did this with my kids. Also, yeah.
How did you do it with the younger grades?
Kind of same idea. I said, this is what we need to learn this week or this month. And how do you guys want to learn this? Like, how should we go about learning this? And I would even go as far as creating the evaluation grids and stuff with my students.
That's awesome.
So,
yeah. I would do the evaluation grids with my students too, with the older ages. So that's cool to know that you can do it with the younger ones too. Yeah. And I know one of our Educom teachers, Danielle, hey Danielle, if you're listening, when she was teaching kindergarten, she would just ask them like, hey, what are you guys interested in right now? And she told me that they would always surprise her. They'd be like, strawberries.
Yeah. Kindergarten, so cute.
Yeah. They would just come up with these totally random things. And she'd be like, all right, let's learn about strawberries. And
then you can infuse the learning outcomes in that, right?
Exactly. And then when it comes to things like motivating students to follow the rules and procedures of your classroom, again, that's another thing that I would do with my students. So at the beginning of the year, I would ask, okay, what's important to you? Like if we want to have a positive learning environment, what's really important to you? And they would come up with all the rules that I would have came up with, but in their own way. And then I would ask them, okay, so how can I support you to make sure that this is what's happening in the classroom? And they would actually give me the ways that they wanted to be supported. So I taught in a French immersion classroom, and a big struggle in a lot of French immersion classrooms, as you know, is getting your students to speak in French. Because it's their second language. So it just becomes it's so much more natural for them to speak in English. But most of them do want to learn French. It's just that it's too hard a lot of the times. They get lazy, like all of us would. So my grade 8 students, that was one of their goals. They said, we want to speak more French. And I would say, okay, how can I support you with that? So they came up with the idea that for the first 5 minutes of class, I would set a timer and that they had to speak only French for those first 5 minutes. And then once the timer was up, then they could just kind of go back to normal. So it was like training them in little spurts to really force themselves to speak French. And then they chose every month to up that, to go, okay, this week we're ready to go for 10 minutes, now 20. And they came up with the idea that if someone stopped speaking in French, and they all supported each other and reminded each other to speak in French, but if someone made a mistake and started speaking English, they had to do 10 push-ups.
Classic.
So at the end of the 5 or 10 minutes, it'd be like, okay, everyone do your push-ups. And they loved that. So they were invested because it was a value that was important to them. But the funny thing is, all the rules they came up with, all of the things they thought were important for a positive learning environment were the exact things I would have said. And it was great because it flipped the switch instead. So it was directed by them. And then I would ask, how can I support you? And that worked really well in my classroom.
Yeah. And just to add to that, I think, if we focus on the feeling that you're going to get from it as a reward, that goes so far, right?
Yeah. And that was another thing. They weren't saying, okay, if we speak in French, then you give us a treat. You give us candy or something like that. That wasn't even their thing. They wanted to speak French because of the intrinsic value. They saw that it was important for them.
Yes.
So their reward was the fact that they're improving in something that they care about. And they, chose to have like a little punishment, which was like a funny punishment.
Little movement break. That's good for you.
Exactly. So it was a great start to our class. Yeah. And I think that really you can get into that discussion too, as you're making your rules and procedures for the classroom, as you're coming up with the projects that you're going to do, as you're doing anything in class, or even if a student is, acting in an inappropriate way and you pull them aside and we talk about just talk about what's going on and what is motivating you to act in that way,
and how is it making you feel when you're making the choices of acting out that way.
Yeah. And a lot of times they say they don't want to be a bad kid. They don't want to act out.
Of course they don't.
No, they all want to just be loved. So if we can help them to figure out what is a better choice, then you're not okay, you get a punishment now. Rather, it's okay, how can I support you to be the person you want to be? Everyone wants to do well.
I love it.
Yeah. All right. Next question.
Okay, next question. I'm generally a really happy person, and my mindfulness practice is making me more so. I am more aware of myself and how I feel, etc. Now that I am more aware, I find myself noticing other people's negativity more. And this person put in parentheses, friends, colleagues, and students. Do you have any advice on how to deal with that? I'm sure a mindfulness practice would help them, but I don't think they are in the right state of mind to try mindfulness. Any advice would be great.
Absolutely. This is something we get this question a lot. And also both of us totally went through this. When you get to the point where you're I'm doing these practices that are making me feel so good. And you're oh, if only life is so good. If only everyone else could do this, they'd all be as happy as me. But the reality is that you can't control anyone else. You can only control yourself and your actions. And all that you can do for another person is model what is possible. And when they're ready, they're going to ask you, why are you so happy? What are you doing? Why are you always so positive? What are you doing to get that way? And that's when you can share with them, oh, you know what? I'm doing a mindfulness practice, or I'm doing a morning routine, or this is what I'm doing that's making me feel so good. I have a gratitude journal. And that's when they're going to be ready for it. But in the meantime, in those interactions, just remember that the way you feel, you get to control. So I can control if, say, someone bursts into my classroom and they're having a super bad day and they're pouring that out on me, like one of my colleagues, right? I can choose to allow that to upset me through the thoughts that I'm thinking, which create the feelings that I'm feeling, or I can choose to view it in a way that I kind of like to think of myself as I'm just letting the things roll off of me. It's okay, this person needs someone to direct their anger and their emotion at right now. I'm just going to put up a little shield, let them vent, but it is not going to enter me and it's not going to change how I feel.
It helps to actually visualize that.
Yes.
Especially if you know that you're going to see someone, because, we all have those friends or those family members or the colleagues that are difficult to, stay positive around. And if you know that you're gonna see one of those people, to actually visualize that shield, or what would be a good, the bubble one is really good. So you visualize yourself in your bubble and that nobody can enter your bubble.
Yeah. And then just let them be as they are. It's not up to you to change how they're feeling. It's not up to you to change their perception. It is not your job to choose their emotions. Only you can choose your emotions. And emotions are contagious. So
yes,
when that negative person is, in your vicinity, you're interacting with that negative person, if you can keep your emotions positive, if you can just let their negativity bounce off of you and even visualize, like as they're just talking, just like visualize something that makes you really happy.
Rainbows and butterflies and unicorns.
Yeah. And really try to keep your energy up, don't sink down to their level, let them vent, release their baggage, and then allow them to come up to your level. If you just keep your emotions positive and good and high, you can be I want to say like almost like an anchor point. It's like either you can be pulled down to them or you can let them be pulled up to you. But again, it's their choice.
Yeah.
So you can keep your emotions high. And if they don't choose to come up with you, next thing you know, they're just going to leave your classroom. They're going to go on their way and you're going to be fine.
Yeah. Also, like, this is not going to happen in 5 seconds. This is a process.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to have to keep being positive and try to keep that energy up over and over and over again until they start being like, oh, I want to feel more like that.
Yeah. Like, you know, you might have a colleague that comes in to see you every single day to vent. And every single time you keep your energy up and you don't get down into the dumps with them and start talking about all the negative things with them, you just keep your energy high. Eventually they're going to be like, they'll go one of two ways. They'll go, I feel like talking about all the negative things and this colleague never wants to get down in the dirt with me. So
I'm out.
And they're going to start going to see someone else.
Which is fine.
Exactly. Or B, they're going to go, man, they always stay positive no matter how bad things get. How can I be more like that? And they're going to try to emulate you. So either way, things are good for you because you just focus on yourself, knowing that you cannot change other people. You can only be the model of what you want to be, and other people can choose to leave or join you.
But you can have an impact that way.
And that is the strongest way to have an impact. I mean, think about, Kate, like anytime that someone tells you what to do, oftentimes you don't want to hear it. Yep. Like when people give you unsolicited advice, you're like, yeah, no thanks.
Yeah, you should do this. Like, what?
Yeah.
No way.
Exactly. Like most of us don't want to hear advice unless we ask for it. So if we're being like, oh man, you're having a really bad day today, you should probably go meditate. You should probably have a mindfulness practice.
Let's not do that.
You should start a journal, like gratitude journal. They're just going to be like,
what?
Ugh,
yeah.
No, like I didn't ask for that advice. I don't want it.
If anything, that might push them away more from the idea of starting a practice.
Exactly. But if you just live your life feeling good all the time and they see that, they might get to the point where they go, I want to know how you're doing that. Tell me about it. And
tell me more.
Yeah. And then that's when you get to be like, oh, I read this awesome book, or I listened to this podcast, or I do this thing. And yeah, but it's so hard for us as teachers. We want to teach people, right? Like when we see that there's a problem, we're like, I can fix it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we really have to have just compassion for them for where they are, allow them to be where they are, and we get to be where we want to be.
I love it.
Next question.
Where are we at here? Lately, I've been struggling with being in a funk. When I don't get enough physical activity, I'm really hard on myself. I have this feeling of wanting to do more, but lack the motivation or energy. So this person is just wondering what they can do.
So we have a really good podcast episode on this. I think it's episode 28, where we talk about the emotional scale. And we talk about, instead of trying to jump from low energy.
Oh, it's episode 27.
27. Thank you.
How to choose a better feeling emotion.
There we go. So episode 27, we really go into this and we talk about the emotional scale and how it's very hard for us to physically move our emotions from really low energy and no motivation to like running out the door to do physical activity. And what often actually makes things worse is when we're judging ourselves for not being where we would like to be. So it's like the first step is to have epic compassion for exactly where you are and just be okay with where you are, which can be really hard. But with practice, you might start to see that, okay, when I'm feeling low and I'm just like, okay, I'm feeling low today. That's just part of life.
Just recognizing it and accepting it.
Yeah. Then actually there's kind of this like relief that happens. You're like, oh, I'm accepting myself even though I'm not my version of perfect me right now. Then there's
the word perfect.
Yeah.
We could do an episode on that word too.
Yeah, definitely. But if we just have compassion for ourselves and be okay with where we are, the funny thing is it actually helps you to get through it or move past it a lot faster because you're not like resisting where you are. You're just like, okay, I'm just going to let this be. And then a trick that we love to use is, what can I do? Like, what's an action I can take? What's a thing I can do that would make me feel 10% better? So instead of, being like, okay, I'm on the couch right now. I want to do physical activity, but I don't actually want to, go for a run right now or do a yoga practice. Then what's a little thing I can do that would just make me feel better? So the thing that's interesting is when you take these little incremental steps up, like, okay, I'm sitting on the couch right now and watching Netflix, and that's making me feel glued to the couch. Okay, maybe I'll just turn the Netflix off and like sit here in silence for a couple seconds. You sit there in silence and you're like, okay, now I'm ready to like stand up. Okay, maybe I'll put my workout clothes on now. Okay, now I'm ready to brush my teeth, or like anything, just like what's the next step from where I'm at right now? So instead of jumping straight from Netflix to getting to the gym, what's one incremental step I can take?
Also, I think like for this person who it's about exercise or physical activity, if your idea of physical activity is like you're going to the gym, you're going to run half an hour on the treadmill, and then you're going to do your weights, and it's going to be this super long workout and it's going to be super intense. Well, maybe you want to take a couple steps back and just be like, okay, well, let's start with a walk.
Yes.
I'll just go for a walk outside. Like, forget the big heavy lifting. I'm just going to go for a walk.
Yeah.
And start with that. Maybe tomorrow you'll want to do more than just go for a walk. Maybe tomorrow you'll want to go for a walk and do a couple sun salutations on your mat,
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how many times I've done that where it's like, okay, I want to do physical activity, but I'm not there right now. So I go for a walk and then I'm like, ooh, now like I'm at a beautiful place. Let's do some yoga. Or things like, okay, I'm just going to roll out my yoga mat. Like that's all I'm going to do. And I'm going to sit on it and I'm just going to meditate on my yoga mat. And then once I'm on my yoga mat, I'm like, you know what? It would actually feel really good.
I'm already here, might as well.
I'm already here. Let's do like just a little easy stretch. And then all of a sudden I'm like practicing handstands. But I would never have been able to go like, okay, I'm going to go practice handstands right now. Like I had to slowly get there.
I think another thing for me too, and some people I think are like this and some people aren't, but for me, I know that I need a lot of variety to stay physically active. And so maybe if whatever I had planned, I'm not feeling motivated to do it, then maybe I do something different. Or maybe I put like a guided yoga video on or something, or I go on YouTube and I search out a workout just to kind of switch things up. I feel like, I don't know, it just feels good sometimes, and it motivates me to just try something different.
I'm exactly the same way. I kind of actually equate, like if I'm not feeling motivated to do my regular thing, then I see that as like, oh, okay, it's not that I don't want to do activity. It's just that I'm bored of this activity I've been doing all week. So try something new. Every once in a while, I do like dance choreography with a YouTube video, and it's so much fun. I'm like so bad, but it's so fun.
There are so many times that when I used to like have a gym membership when I was a teacher, I would go to these random classes and I like did like step classes and stuff, and I'd show up and I'd have no idea what I'm doing. Like all these women around me are like perfectly stepping exactly when they're supposed to, and I'm just like all over the place. And I just kind of found joy in that because I'm like, whatever, who cares how I look? Nobody's looking at me, but it's like I'm still moving.
Yeah.
Feels good.
Also, I think, and this could go down a whole other rabbit hole, but a lot of the time, I think for a lot of us, when we're exercising, it is because like our motivation is I want to change the way my body looks rather than I want to feel energized or I want to feel good. And I think that for myself personally, when I made the switch from I'm going to go to the gym to punish my body for looking this way, and I decided my workouts now are going to be to celebrate my body and help me to feel joyful. Like, let's do workouts that are fun. Let's like just go for a walk because it feels good to be outside and move my body. And I started, my motivation for working out was to feel good, not to punish myself. That made a huge shift for me.
It's a mindset shift.
Totally. And now I don't feel like I have to motivate myself to work out. I feel like if I don't do activity, I'm like, oh, I need to do something. Like I've been too stagnant. I can't wait to move my body in a way that feels good. So it totally shifted my view and perception and feelings around exercise.
And at the same time, like I feel that way too. But those days now of where I don't want to move, I just don't move. It's fine. I'm okay with it now. Whereas I would have gotten upset with myself in the past, and now I'm choosing to be okay with that. Yeah. Okay, but I was just thinking when we were talking about this, like, let's go back a couple of years here. Kaylee and I met in the Faculty of Education at the Université de Saint-Boniface, 7 years ago now?
Oh my God, has it been that long?
I think so. But our friendship flourished from exercise.
Yeah, we were workout buddies.
We met playing volleyball. Mm-hmm. Well, no, we met in the Faculty of Education, but we got to know each other playing volleyball because we were the two old ones. Yeah, on the team.
We were like in our 6th year of university, and everyone else was in their 1st year, and we were the old ladies. But it was so fun.
And then we would go do yoga together. I remember we got an unlimited month together. Yeah. And we were doing yoga. It was like a workout. Like our perspectives have shifted so much. And we used to, on top of that, go to the gym and go for runs. We were like so intense. Yeah. But just to think, like we came so far in our perspectives around moving our bodies, around exercising. It's actually so crazy because when we started exercising together, it was 100% like the calories and like we used to read Women's Health and we needed to look like those women and
do the exercises to burn. I went through a phase where I counted calories. Like, what a waste of my life.
Yeah, right.
Such a shift.
Just to see with every year how like now we've taken on the perspectives that we have now, and what a shift. Sorry, I just had to mention that.
Yeah, so different. Yeah, it really went from punishing my body and like wanting to change it to celebrating my body and honoring what would make my body feel good. And that has changed everything. And I feel healthier and more energetic. And
I think you look healthier. I think I look healthier.
Yeah, I think we both look and feel our best. And we are probably the least active we've ever been because now we do a lot more like gentle movement and like I'm not we're not spending 2 hours in the gym every day. True. You know,
but I still like get some movement in almost every day.
Yeah.
So
I do get movement in every day.
But yes, it's just not the same. It's not like I need to like pump iron so that I'm jacked.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's totally different. It's really, and it's also not about how it looks at all anymore. It's just about how I feel in my body.
Exactly. Yeah.
Love it.
And and sometimes my body asks for intense workouts because I'm like, I had a long day and I feel like so pent up with energy. I need to get it out with like some intense movement and some intense workouts. And some days I'm like, oh, I just want to take a nice leisurely stroll or go on my paddleboard or
I feel like that was a fun trip down memory lane.
Yeah,
and
no
you
kidding.
guys got to learn a couple fun facts about Kaylee and I. I don't know if we've ever shared some of those things before.
Yeah.
All right, so there it is. We actually had a lot more questions to answer, but we kind of ran out of time. Guess we had lots to say for each question, but we would love to know, is this something that you would like to see more of? If so, find us today on Instagram at Educalm, that's EDUCALME, and comment on today's post. Let us know if you would like us to keep doing Q&A episodes. And even better, please ask us your questions. We would love to know what your questions are so that we can answer them in a future episode. And you can do that again by going on Instagram and asking the questions in the comment section. You can DM us, or you can actually just send us an email at bonjour@educalm.com, and bonjour is spelled BONJOUR. So that's your exit ticket for the week. Let us know what your questions are for future episodes. Now, what are we up to this week? Well, we are headed into week 3 of the Educalm teacher course, which is going so well. And Kaylee will have a lot to report back to you on the takeaways of the course. So that's coming up. Stay tuned. Also, we will be doing a workshop this week. And as usual, I'll be doing some behind the scenes things, working on modules for Educalm Classroom, and we're also in the brainstorming phase of a possible other little secret project that we'll let you know when we're ready to talk about it. I don't think it'll be for a little while still, but that's kind of on our minds right now. So I hope that you all have an awesome, awesome, awesome week. And we'll see you next Monday on the Balanced Educator Podcast. Bye.
Hey there, Balanced Educator. We appreciate you and the work that you're doing in the world. We are here to support you, so we've created a free resource library for you to use anytime you want. Resources for mindfulness for you and your kiddos at home or in the classroom. You can get these free resources by going to www.educalm.com/The Balanced Educator. Again, that's www.educalm, that's spelled EDUCALME.com/The Balanced Educator. Thank you for being a part of our Educalm community.